An agronomist is tasked with managing biological diversity on a massive scale. They have to understand how to cultivate everything from tiny, fast-growing seeds to immense jungle canopies that will stand for decades. With thousands of cultivated species in existence, agricultural planners need a systematic way to categorize crops. They need a framework that actually dictates how a farm is managed and scaled. Take the coconut tree. Its biology allows it to function within several distinct categories at once. Because depending on its end use, this single plant operates as a food crop for direct consumption, an oil crop for processing, and a perennial plantation crop requiring years of upfront investment before a single harvest. Agricultural classification is a fluid framework. It is driven by specific production systems and targeted economic goals, rather than rigid botanical laws. Navigating this matrix lets agricultural planners align biological specimens with specific commercial objectives. The most critical tier of this taxonomy focuses on basic national survival. Food crops are staples cultivated primarily for direct human consumption. In tropical climates, this category relies heavily on major annuals: maize, cassava, sago, and sweet potatoes. These require replanting every season. In Malaysia and across most of Asia, this category is defined by a single crop, paddy, rice. This map plots the highly clustered zones dedicated to paddy production. Securing a staple food requires cultivation on a staggering geographic scale. The green Mata regions in Kedah and the red Kata regions in Kelantan serve as the nation's primary rice bowls. We can translate that geographic footprint into the hard metrics of domestic survival. This chart tracks national self-sufficiency in rice. Currently, domestic yields cover between 60 and 70% of total consumption. To bridge that 30 to 40% deficit, massive volumes must be imported annually from neighboring producers like Thailand and Vietnam. Because the profit margins on bulk staples are tight and high volume is non-negotiable, modern paddy is categorized for extensive management. That means relying on vast continuous acreage, heavy mechanization, and engineered irrigation to force multiple harvests a year. The classification of a food crop is an exercise in balancing the mandate of national survival against strict limitations in available land and biological yield. If food crops guarantee survival, plantation and industrial crops exist to generate export wealth. This category defines crops cultivated on a massive scale over many years. They are grown specifically to be processed into industrial raw materials, including vegetable oils and latex. Two biological giants dominate the sector in Malaysia: rubber and oil palm. Oil palm alone occupies approximately 5.7 million hectares. That is a massive percentage of the country's total landmass dedicated to a single species. It earned the title of golden crop due to its unrivaled fresh fruit bunch yield and its role as a primary engine for export tax revenue. Maximizing profit across millions of hectares relies on precision genetic breeding. This cross-section shows 3 distinct oil palm fruits. The triumph of industrial breeding is the Tenera F1 hybrid. Crossing the thick-shelled Dura with the shell-less Piscifera yields a thin shell and an expanded, oil-rich mesocarp, maximizing the tissue that extracts profit. Rubber underwent a similar industrial optimization, evolving from raw sap extraction into a highly refined pipeline producing technical exports like surgical gloves and specialized tires. Plantation agriculture categorizes crops strictly by their ability to be scaled geometrically, providing long-term and continuous commercial extraction. Not all broadacre crops are destined for the human digestive tract or heavy industrial oil tanks. Forage crops, like Napier grass and forage sorghum, are cultivated purely for rapid biomass production. They are the biological fuel that feeds the ruminant livestock industry. Then there are fiber crops, cultivated as renewable industrial raw materials. Kenaf is a fast-growing annual in this category. Its value is entirely structural, locked within the long fibers of its stem. Once harvested, the stem and core are processed into paper pulp, biodegradable packaging, and highly absorbent animal bedding. These niche classifications buffer the broader economy. They ensure steady domestic supply lines for adjacent sectors, ranging from paper mills to livestock farms. When we shift away from extensive commodity farming, we enter the specialized, high-value arena of horticulture. Horticulture is the intensive cultivation of plants for food, aesthetics, and recreation. It generally requires meticulous, individual plant management. This infographic outlines the subdisciplines dividing this sector into manageable units. It includes olericulture for vegetables like tomatoes and pomology for fruits like durian. It also spans non-food branches, floriculture for ornamental flowers, turfgrass management for sports fields, and precise landscape architecture. The management reality of horticulture is intense. Compared to an oil palm estate, a horticultural plot requires massive daily inputs of labor, strict climate control, and high capital investment per square meter of soil. Horticultural classification signals a strategy of maximizing the financial return generated by each individual plant and square meter of soil. Before any of these economic lenses are applied, plants are categorized by pure biological reality, classified by their physical morphology and genetics. This diagram shows the fundamental botanical division between monocots, like grasses and palms, and dicots, which include broadleaf plants and trees. The differences in leaf venation, root systems, and stem structures are absolute. While this botanical taxonomy is an unchangeable scientific law, an oil palm will always be a monocot, it is practically useless for structuring a farm's business model. We can look at a final cross-section of crops to prove how economic fluidity overrides botanical rigidity in the real world. Memorizing a plant's Latin genus and leaf structure gives an agronomist a baseline, but it provides zero instruction on how to market it, harvest it, or turn a profit from it. Compare durian and oil palm. Botanically, both are large, woody perennials producing massive fruits, but economically, their paths diverge. Durian is managed as a high-value horticultural fruit under pomology. Oil palm is managed as an extensive industrial crop. Introduce a tomato into the mix, and the botanical rules break further. It is a short-lived annual plant, yet it requires the exact same intensive horticultural care and infrastructure as the perennial durian tree. We categorize crops to dictate resource allocation. You simply do not irrigate, fertilize, or harvest a 10,000-hectare industrial estate the same way you manage a climate-controlled greenhouse. A successful agricultural planner must understand the underlying biology of the seed, but to produce a yield, they must classify that crop strictly by the economic objective of the farm.